Roy Kelton Orbison entered the world on April 23, 1936, in the small town of Vernon, Texas, during a time when life demanded resilience. Raised in a modest, hard-working family at the tail end of the Great Depression, he grew up surrounded by dust roads, country radio, and the steady hum of everyday struggle. Music became his escape almost as soon as he could hold a guitar. By 6, he was strumming chords, and by 8, he was performing on local radio stations, his shy personality dissolving the moment he began to sing. While other kids chased games, Roy chased melodies. Influenced by the storytelling heart of country music, the smooth crooning of pop singers, and the soulfulness of gospel, he slowly crafted a sound that felt older than his years. Those early days in Wink, Texas, where he later formed his first band, shaped not just his skills, but his spirit. Even then, there was something unmistakably sincere about him. A quiet boy with an unusually powerful voice and an instinct for emotion that would one day move millions. Finding his sound in Memphis, Orbison's first steps into the professional music world came when he signed with Sun Records in Memphis, the same legendary label that launched Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash. Although his early rockabilly tracks didn't immediately set the charts on fire, they gave him invaluable experience. It wasn't until he moved to Monument Records that everything clicked. Working closely with producer Fred Foster, Roy began blending rock, pop, classical drama, and country storytelling into something entirely new. The result was a sweeping, cinematic style that showcased his remarkable 3-octave vocal range. His 1960 hit Only the Lonely introduced audiences to a different kind of rock star. One who didn't shout or swagger, but instead sang straight from the heart. Soon came Crying, Running Scared, and In Dreams, each song unfolding like a miniature opera filled with longing and vulnerability. Orbison wasn't just performing music, he was telling stories people recognized from their own lives. The man behind the sunglasses. Part of Orbison's mystique came from his appearance. Dressed almost always in black and rarely seen without his dark sunglasses, he seemed mysterious, even distant. Yet those who met him often described someone gentle, polite, and surprisingly humble. The glasses, originally worn by accident during a tour, eventually became his trademark, giving him a timeless, almost mythic presence on stage. While many artists of the era celebrated rebellion or bravado, Roy leaned into tenderness. He sang about heartbreak, loneliness, and hope with such honesty that listeners felt as though he were speaking directly to them. Critics began calling him the Caruso of rock, and fans affectionately named him the Big O. He proved that vulnerability could be just as powerful as swagger, maybe even more so. Love, family, and personal anchors. Away from the spotlight, Roy cherished the simple things. He married young and built a family while balancing the demands of constant touring. Those who knew him best often spoke of how deeply he valued home life, how fatherhood grounded him amid the whirlwind of fame. Life, like it does for everyone, brought both joy and difficult moments, yet music remained his steady companion. Through every season, he poured his feelings into his songs rather than into headlines. Later, when he found love again with Barbara, she became both partner and pillar, helping guide his career and creating a sense of stability that allowed him to keep creating. Their relationship marked a new chapter filled with warmth, teamwork, and shared purpose. A voice that defined an era. By the early 1960s, Roy Orbison had carved out a place all his own in popular music. His songs didn't follow typical formulas. Instead of simple verses and choruses, many built slowly, rising to dramatic crescendos that felt almost orchestral. Then came Oh Pretty Woman in 1964, playful, confident, and irresistibly catchy. It proved he could deliver joy just as convincingly as sorrow. The song became a global smash and introduced him to an even wider audience. What made Orbison special wasn't just technical skill, but emotional truth. He sang every note like he meant it. There was no pretense, no mask beyond the sunglasses, just feeling. That authenticity helped his music cross generations and genres, influencing everyone from Bruce Springsteen to Katie Lang, changing times and quiet persistence. Like many artists from the early rock era, Orbison's popularity dipped during the 1970s as musical trends shifted, but he never stopped working. He wrote songs, collaborated with others, and kept touring, trusting that good music always finds its way back. There was something steady about his approach, no dramatic reinventions, just dedication to craft. Younger musicians continued discovering his catalog and citing him as a major influence. Slowly but surely, appreciation for his work began to build again. Roy wasn't chasing fame anymore. He was simply doing what he loved. That quiet persistence would set the stage for one of the most unexpected comebacks in rock history. The Traveling Wilburys and a late bloom. The late 1980s brought a beautiful surprise. Orbison joined forces with George Harrison, Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, and Jeff Lynne to form the Traveling Wilburys, a supergroup born almost by accident during a casual recording session. What started as fun among friends turned into something magical. Their chemistry was effortless, and Roy's rich, soaring harmonies added warmth and depth to the group's sound. Hearing his voice alongside those legends felt like a celebration of everything he'd contributed to music. Fans old and new embraced the project, and suddenly Orbison was back in the spotlight, not as a nostalgic act, but as a vital, living artist. Around the same time, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a moment that felt less like recognition and more like confirmation of what listeners had known all along. Roy Orbison was timeless. Mystery Girl and a lasting legacy. Orbison's final solo album, Mystery Girl, captured the spirit of this renewed energy. Filled with heartfelt performances and polished production, it sounded both classic and fresh. Songs like You Got It reminded everyone how effortlessly he could blend romance and rhythm. Even after his passing in 1988, the album continued touching audiences around the world. Years later, his sons helped complete unfinished recordings, ensuring that their father's voice would keep singing for future generations. These releases felt less like relics and more like conversations across time, a family honoring the man who had given so much of himself through music. More than a legend. So what is the mystery of Roy Orbison? In truth, it isn't dark or complicated. It's something simpler and far more human. He wasn't mysterious because of hidden secrets or dramatic myths. He was mysterious because he felt deeply in a world that often asks people not to. He let those feelings show. He sang about love without irony, about heartbreak without shame, about hope without hesitation. That kind of emotional openness can feel rare, even today. His life, like anyone's, held ups and downs, but what remains isn't sorrow. It's the music that carried him through it all. Why his voice still matters. Decades later, Roy Orbison's songs still float through radios, movies, and playlists, sounding as fresh as ever. New listeners discover him and wonder how one voice could hold so much feeling. The answer might be that he never tried to be larger than life. He simply told the truth, note by note. That honesty is what keeps people coming back. In a world full of noise, Roy Orbison reminds us of the power of sincerity. His music doesn't shout, it reaches out, takes your hand, and stays with you.